Welcome back, Femi. Agric. Everyone is talking about Agric as, you know, the major way to get unemployed people off the streets. Please.
Currently, Agric contributes the largest proportion to what is it called, GDP, and I think
it does.
It has 20% to
20. Okay.
Yes, over 20%. So it's important that, of course, I will build on it. Now, the issue with a lot of push that we've been having, a lot of talks on do this, let's put it, is what structures, how are you even getting the youth involved? I think we need to move away from thinking that it's about just survival, or you want to just get employment, and have a strategic view on where you actually want to be. Agric is a no-brainer. The cost pretty low. You can do a lot with just a small piece of land, and then you can. The market is there for a number of things. I have a number of friends and businesses that I consult for that very small, but they're doing well. I mean,
what can you do on a small piece of land?
Okay, let me give you an example. I know someone that's into
quickly, please.
That's into eggs, for instance, does eggs, chicken, and the demand for eggs, for what they produce, they can't meet the demand. The question we have to ask is, how come a lot more people are not going into, this area? And then you find out that the people who are talking about pork, right? That's pig farming, and feed. They have the same, level of result. They tell you that the demand is very high, that they are unable to meet it on a regular, basis. So the issue is, how are we going to strengthen that sector? The government is doing a lot. There is actually a bank that is dedicated to Agric, right, to strengthen the sector, and they're doing a lot with regards. But how do we? Agric is not something that you can just tell a graduate to go and get a piece of land. How do we make it attractive? Which is the work that employability, quote and unquote, comes in. Because if you have a problem that you want to solve, and the people who are going to solve it are well equipped for it, then you can actually get the solution you desire.
Dennis, there's been this thing of different governments doing empowerment programs, attempting to create jobs or to employ people through empowerment and all of that. But they've all seemed to have failed along the way. Is that the way to go? I mean, that's one thing. How do you get a graduate to go into farming? How do you make it attractive? Maybe that's an empowerment thing. And yet the farmers or the graduates don't want to go in there.
It's because the emphasis is on white-collar jobs. There's much emphasis on white-collar jobs. People are not really looking at their apprenticeship scheme, just as he said. And so if there could be policies to encourage more apprenticeship schemes, I believe there will be a shift, from the white-collar jobs to the apprenticeship schemes. That's my own humble opinion.
Dennis, I know a doctor, a medical doctor, who now bakes and sells cakes.
Interesting.
I know another medical doctor who sews. In fact, what I'm wearing right now was made by a medical doctor. She has abandoned medicine altogether, and she's facing this because she says this brings her more money than medicine.
So she has shifted. She has shifted.
But there are many Nigerians who will not go and learn tailoring because they believe it is below them.
It has to do with the mindset.
I want to become the managing director
I want to be
in a few years.
I don't want to be a tailor. They look down, yeah.
Not only that.
Also, what's the difference between a tailor and a fashion designer? Because some people tell you they are skilled fashion designers.
You say potato, I say potato.
I love each time I come across that question. It's the same. It is the same. Because why? A fashion designer now must work in a studio. That is where everything you talk about, fashion, art, and whatever started from. Somebody must have it in his head and be able to put it down. So that's a work of a designer. From there, a cutter now comes in, illustration.
Interprets.
Yeah, and try to interpret what he has put on the paper. Then take it on the cutting table. That's another department entirely. We are talking about 1, 2, 3 departments now. A designer is a department in a tailoring workshop or a garment industry. So I want you to get there. That's why I'm just taking it step by step. So if you're a good garment maker, you should have a designer to start your work for you. So that's why I say we are the same. From the cutting to machinist. Machinists will now put it together and send it to finishing level.
And these are all skills.
Buttonhole.
So
they are each their department on their own.
okay, now so each of this is a job that can be created in this entire society, reducing unemployment
In the industry.
So
Yes.
So I think, I hear a number of different things. I hear the conversation around agriculture. I still think that from an agri perspective, we still need to infuse a lot more technology. So our yields are still low, productivity levels are low. And if you look at a state like Lagos, that's 0.4% of the nation's land mass. We certainly don't have that much land to farm. So that's one issue. But on the other side, I also recognize that from the artisan's perspective, there's a need for some certification. And that's very important. I think that we just need some level of standardization. And those are some of the things that the Lagos state government is trying to do. That's what we at the Employment Trust Fund certainly have come out to do. But just to close all of this together, I think when I hear the different conversations, it looks like there's a lot happening in different pockets. And indeed, sometimes the role of government is not so much to intervene with funding or capital, but to ensure that all those different blocks understand, and you remove all the Chinese walls, remove all the whispers around the place, and get information flowing between different parties. And I think that, like I said earlier to start, we're in a 5 to 10 year cycle where we either make or break this conversation. So, from my perspective, I think it's an exciting time to be a business person, especially in Lagos State. And I think that if the work that the state government is doing and the federal government is also doing from the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, if those two things come to fruition, we certainly will see some quantum growth in employment and entrepreneurship in Nigeria.
okay, as we wind down, Dennis, your closing statement.
Well, I believe attitude has an important role to play. Let me take a leaf from Everett Rogers when he classified people in his book, The Definition of Innovation. You understand that, just like Madam said, there's a doctor that has gone into tailoring. Not everybody would ordinarily want to think to take that shift. There's some people that are laggards, or should I say the early majorities or the late majorities. They would rather wait for that white collar job and just sit down there. There are others that are thinkers, that the trailblazers, they think outside. They're not just looking for that white collar job. They want to take a risk. Let me leave the medical, where I'm working at the hospital, and invest, and make a cloth. So that is what the doctor has done. So I believe attitude has a whole lot to play in this.
Okay. Otumba.
Thank you very much. I think the government has to take this challenge very seriously for us to get out of recession, because everything is on ground for them to do. Number one, 90%, according to the Federal Ministry of Employment, 90% of new jobs in Nigeria were created by the informal sector. Why can't you take that seriously? The informal sector have no security, no insurance, no nothing.
No power.
And they are the one that should be running the economy of this country. So if they can tap into it, bring all the leaders together and ask them what to do.
Okay.
When we get all our youth engaged, and from there we can get out of recession. Thank you.
Femi. I think what we need to take away is the big potential the country has. The youth, sorry, excuse me. Sure. A number of people really want to work. How do we harmonize? That's what we should live with.
Okay.
I think for me, in closing, I think, like I said, I'll reiterate the point. It's a great time to do business in Nigeria, I think. And especially as the contract between government and people starts to deepen. We will see that governments have to be more responsive to the issues that surround employment and employability. For a country where 32.6% of its labor force are either unemployed or underemployed, it's our single biggest problem. And at the Lagos State government, not only has the governor set up a Ministry of Wealth Creation and Employment to specifically focus on that problem, but he's also created the Employment Trust Fund, which I work with to solve that problem. And I think that if we can replicate that kind of focus across the country at sovereign and sub-sovereign level, we'll certainly start seeing those numbers trickle down from 32.6% to more reasonable numbers of below 10%.
Thank you very much. We have been chatting unemployment with Mr. Femi Onakare, solutions provider and policy analyst, Mr. Akin Oyebode, executive secretary, Lagos State Employment Trust Fund, Mr. Dennis Ukpabi, human resource consultant and an author, as well as Otumba Wasiu Taiwo, who is the national president, Nigeria Union of Tailors. Thank you all very much for coming to share your insights with us. This is by no means exhaustive. We could have gone on for another hour, but this is the nature of television. Thank you very much. Sunrise will be right back with another interesting conversation. We'll see you soon.